Hello everybody, meteorologist Jacob Campbell here with your WeatherNow forecast. So today we're going to look at some the SPC risks for Wednesday and Thursday. I know I haven't uploaded recently. I've been struggling with my math class, so I've been focusing quite a bit of time to that, but here is the Wednesday forecast. So we do have an area of slight risk from around the St. Louis area and in central Illinois down through parts of Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, a little part of Tennessee and North Carolina, as well as a bit of Maryland and just a tiny bit of Pennsylvania here. And so the main risks are going to be hail and wind. We do have a bit of cape in the day on Wednesday, but we don't have a whole lot of wind shear. So winds at the surface are going to be blowing around the same speed as winds aloft, which means that you're going to have a significantly higher threat for wind, but also means with higher cape, you're going to have a larger hail risk. So the risks are only 15% for both hail and wind right now, within 25 miles of any given point within this slight risk. That could get upgraded as we go into the day. On Wednesday, seeing as though we'll have more updated models. We do have a marginal risk surrounding that, as well as a marginal risk down here in the Houston, Lake Charles area in Texas and Louisiana, as well as a little bit of a larger marginal risk here spanning Texas, little parts of Oklahoma and New Mexico. And so this one down here is actually going to be triggered by Invest 91L, which is it's not even a tropical depression, it's just a tropical system that will be moving into the area through the day on Wednesday and Thursday. And it'll mainly bring some rain. You could get some hail and maybe a couple of spin-ups, but it doesn't look to be anything too crazy. Rain is going to be the main threat. But then there's a low pressure system out here in Texas that will actually be merging, and you'll see it. It will be merging here with this Invest 91L in the day on Thursday, but that will just trigger a marginal threat for severe storms here. And so you're going to be looking at mainly wind and hail again. The tornado threat is very low. I think it's only 5% in the slight risk area, and then 2% in these marginal risks. So very low. It's possible there could be some isolated tornadoes, but hail and wind are primary. Moving on to Thursday, we see that area, that low pressure, has kind of merged with this Invest 91L, which is going to be pushing off to the east as it makes landfall, and this could bring some flooding through the days on Wednesday and Thursday. And why we actually have a rain forecast or a rain total precipitation. That's the word I'm thinking of from essentially now until Thursday for that area, because you could get quite a bit of flash flooding in here. But marginal risk for this Texas area, as well as for this Montana, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming. For this area, you're also under a marginal risk, as well as, like I said, that Texas, Louisiana area down here. The threat is primarily wind, especially in this marginal risk up here. There's a very low risk of hail down here, but there's not even that high of a risk for hail in this marginal risk up in this area. And so primarily looking at a wind day on Thursday. Moving on to the rain potential on Wednesday. In that band, that slight risk area stretching from St. Louis over to basically Washington, D.C., there is a potential for very heavy rain in that area, as well as, and especially down here in that stretching up from Corpus Christi all the way almost over to New Orleans, and then up into southern Missouri. You could also experience some very heavy rain, some just generally moderate rain for actually quite a swath, and most of this is going to be like moderate rain in short periods. So you're not actually going to end up with a whole lot of rain, but you will have some systems move through that could bring some moderate rain, and then just a couple of bands of light rain here near the Maine and New Hampshire area, as well as through north-south Dakota. And North and South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, and then up through near Des Moines, Iowa, and then up through Wisconsin, and then the Upper Peninsula here in Michigan. And so once again, you guys are just going to be in for some light rain. You'll have some light pockets that move through. We do have a couple of little spotty areas of moderate rain And so we've got an area here near Salt Lake City that's going to be triggered by essentially lifting air on the Rocky Mountains. And so you could be, you could be in for a little bit of moderate rain here, and then also here in the more mountainous areas of California, you're also going to get that those mountains are going to force lift, which is going to cause some moderate precipitation if you live in that area from about Sacramento down to around Bakersfield. Now for Thursday, we have that area once again of this heavy rain triggered by both that low pressure system and Invest 91L, which is going to stretch from New Orleans to Oklahoma City to Springfield and then down to Memphis and then back down through Mississippi. And essentially, you're going to be looking at some heavy rain for most of the day. And once again, I think in the next slide we've got rain totals. Oops, I forgot to fill in a little area here. But marginal rain for areas stretching from around Maine down to Florida, all the way over to Colorado, and then through just this south, central, and east part of the United States, as well as some light rain up here in the Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Utah, and Wyoming area, as well as some here in eastern Wyoming, Colorado, and then stretching all the way over through the Midwest and the Great Plains, the Ohio River Valley, and then up to Michigan and Ohio. Just some lighter rain. You'll have some lighter bands there. So moving on to rain totals. As this makes landfall, it will make landfall here near the Houston, Lake Charles area. And so as essentially this low pressure system comes in from Invest 91L and the low pressure system pushes in from Texas, they're going to kind of merge and create this perfect storm of rain. And so you're going to get 3+ inches of rain in this Houston to Shreveport and Tyler area, as well as here near the Red River area in Oklahoma and Texas. And so those areas they're in a risk for 3+ inches of rain at this point. This is until the end of the day on Thursday. And then 2 inches of rain surrounding that from just west of New Orleans all the way over to just east of Corpus Christi, stretching up through El Dorado, Lake Charles, Houston, Dallas. And then we also have another area of 2+ inches here for Tupelo in Mississippi and Alabama, and then 1 inch surrounding that, and then less than an inch if you live around the area there. So we're going to move on here to the reflectivity. This is simulated reflectivity. This is the NAM model. And so we're going to actually scroll down here. So you can see down in this area, Invest 91L starting to move up. And then it does make landfall near that Texas-Louisiana border, and it's just going to continue to dump rain in that area as this low-pressure system off to the west begins to move in. And so the moisture that had now is getting merged with the moisture that Invest 91L has, and it's going to cause an increase in precipitation around that area into the evening hours on Wednesday. And then that will begin to push off to the east as another low-pressure system begins to spin up here in Texas and Oklahoma. And into the day on Thursday, this will just continue to push on to the east as we've got another system starting to spin up here near the Oklahoma area late in the day on Thursday. Sorry about that. So what we're also going to be seeing, and we're going to kind of zoom through here until we get to Wednesday. Okay, in the overnight hours of Wednesday, there are going to be these storms that develop here in the Wisconsin, why am I blanking on names? Wisconsin, and Minnesota, there we go, and the Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri area, as well as down here in the Ohio River Valley. They're going to continue to develop throughout the day, and then they're going to kind of build up by early morning hours on Wednesday and begin to push off to the east as more kind of spotty stuff begins to pop up off to the west and then push to the south. And then, as we said before, into the evening hours on Thursday, there is that spin up here that could cause some a risk for severe storms, possibly slight for this area, depending on how intense that becomes. But that's generally what's going to happen. And then as we move into the upper air maps, this is the 500 millibar winds. We do see, and this is for Thursday, we do see an area here where that landfall has been made. Sorry, this is Wednesday, where landfall has been made. You do have broadening bands of height levels for the 500 millibar level, which suggests that there's divergence aloft, which means convergence at the surface, which means you will have kind of an intensification of storms in those areas, as well as throughout this northern Indiana, southern Michigan, and Ohio area. We do have divergence there as well, which will cause some lift. And this is going to, the larger risk for tornadoes is through this Indiana to Washington, D.C. area, and it's not a high risk at all. It's like I said, only about 5% within 25 miles of any given point, but we do see the highest amount of shear kind of in this area, right around 32 knots, which could produce some isolated tornadoes, but it's kind of unlikely at this point. We do see another short wave down here, which is going to spark that system that we saw in Oklahoma. And as we move in, we do see that kind of intensify a bit through the daytime hours on Thursday. We do have a bit of divergence aloft here, which means convergence at the surface. However, there's not a whole lot in terms of wind shear. So because of that, it does appear as though tornadoes are going to be a low risk, which is good because there have just been too many tornadoes this season. So, and then moving into the day on, that's Sunday. Moving into the day on Saturday, we do get that low pressure system out here for the Arkansas, Missouri area that will kind of stall out because there's a little bit of higher pressure off here to the east. And so you will kind of see that stall here in that Mississippi River / Ohio River Valley area. Moving on to Cape, we're going to take a look at Cape throughout the day. So as Invest 91L makes landfall, Cape values are kind of low. They're maxing out just shy of 2,000 joules per kilogram, which means that there is a little bit of a chance of hail, but at this point it looks to be more of a wind event. However, here for Kansas and Missouri, there are some higher Cape values where we saw those pop-up storms happen after the storms left the Midwest / Great Lakes area, and so that will produce those pop-ups that are going to move to the southeast as we progress through the day on Wednesday and into Thursday. And then into the day on Thursday, Cape values are fairly low for this Oklahoma area, which is where we're going to see those thunderstorms develop around that low, and due to that, hail is there's a slight maybe marginal risk for hail and a higher risk for wind. So I hope that you all enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video. So thank you all and have a great day.